There are places on Earth where geography becomes destiny. The Dardanelles is one of them. 41 miles of water, less than a mile wide at its narrowest point. And in the winter of 1914, this narrow strip of water held the fate of the entire war. Russia was dying. 3 million men on the Eastern Front. Ammunition running out. Supplies running out. Every port that could save her, frozen or blockaded. One passage remained. The Dardanelles. Lose it, and Russia fights alone. Lose Russia, and Germany fights on one front. The math was simple. The strait was not. 1914. 2 former German warships, now flying the Ottoman flag, bombarded Russian ports in the Black Sea. The Ottoman Empire had entered the war. The last door to Russia was gone. November 3rd, 1914. British and French warships fired on the outer forts of the Dardanelles. It lasted 10 minutes. One lucky shell hit a magazine. The fort at Sedel Bahir was destroyed. 86 Ottoman soldiers were killed. The Admiralty called it a success. It was the worst mistake they could have made. That 10-minute bombardment told the Ottomans exactly what was coming. The element of surprise, the one advantage the Allies possessed, was gone before the campaign even began. The strait was not undefended. At the Narrows, from Chanak to Kilit Bahir, just 1,600 yards of water separated Europe from Asia. On both shores, a layered system of guns, forts, and watchtowers. 100 guns guarded the strait, but the real weapon was something you could not see. 10 lines of mines, 370 of them, moored at 15 meters, anchored in silence. The guns existed only to protect them. The Ottoman defenses were old. The guns were obsolete. Churchill knew this. What he did not know was that one German admiral had already solved the problem. Vice Admiral Guido von Usedom arrived in Istanbul in August 1914. He brought specialists. He brought modern guns. He brought a decision. The defense of the strait would not rest on guns. It would rest on mines. Before the Great Fleet sailed, a smaller story had already begun. Lieutenant Commander Norman Holbrook took his submarine, HMS B-11, into the strait. Under 5 lines of mines, in currents that could have killed him. He found the Ottoman battleship Mesudie, anchored as a floating gun platform south of Çanakkale. He fired. Mesudie capsized in 10 minutes. Holbrook received the Victoria Cross, the first Royal Navy 5C of the entire war. In London, one man was watching closely. Winston Churchill, First Lord of the Admiralty. His logic was ruthless. Force the Dardanelles, steam to Istanbul, knock the Ottomans out of the war, open Russia, end the war in the east, while the Western Front bled. Not everyone agreed. Admiral John Fisher, First Sea Lord, had opposed the plan from the beginning. He knew what Churchill did not. Without ground troops to hold the shores, the fleet would have nothing to come back to. But Churchill pressed on. On February 13, 1915, the War Council approved. Fisher signed, under protest, in silence. February 19, 1915, the fleet entered the strait and opened fire on the outer forts. Long range, cautious, disappointing. The Ottoman guns answered back. HMS Agamemnon, one of the most powerful ships in the fleet, became a magnet for Ottoman artillery. Day after day, 50 separate impacts by the end of the campaign. She kept firing. She did not sink. The fleet withdrew. Every time the fleet withdrew, it turned to starboard, into Erenköy Bay. The same turn, the same water. Forcing the outer strait was only the first step. Before the battleships could steam through to Istanbul, the minefields at the Narrows had to be cleared. That was the job of the minesweepers. They entered the strait. Ottoman searchlights found them immediately. Mobile howitzers on the hills above opened fire. The minesweepers were civilian trawlers. Their crews were fishermen, not soldiers. They turned back. They tried again the next night, and the night after that. Each time the searchlights found them. Each time the howitzers drove them back. On the night of March 13th, the cruiser HMS Amethyst led 6 minesweepers into the strait. 4 of the trawlers were hit, Amethyst was badly damaged. 19 men were killed. The minefields remained untouched. The strait itself was the trap. The Dardanelles runs in the shape of an S. When the great battleships advanced toward the Narrows, the channel became too narrow to fight, too narrow to turn. The current made it worse. 2 layers of water moving in opposite directions. The surface flowing south, the deep current flowing north. A warship caught in those currents had one option. One bay wide enough to turn. One bay where the current allowed a clean U-turn back toward the open sea. Eren-Köy Bay. Every time, without exception, by necessity, not a choice, a law of the sea. And someone had noticed. Then came the intelligence. Admiral Carden sent a cable to London. The fleet could reach Istanbul within 14 days. A German wireless message was intercepted. The Ottoman forts were almost out of ammunition, not because the Allied guns had silenced them, because they had been firing for weeks at ships they could not sink, at minesweepers they could not stop, at a fleet that kept coming back. Victory seemed close. Then Admiral Carden collapsed. He didn't lose a ship. He lost his mind. Weeks of staring into a 41-mile trap. The pressure from London. The dread of ordering men into a minefield he couldn't see. His nervous system gave out. Command passed to Admiral John de Robeck, a man who already harboured doubts. On the night of March 8, 1915, a small Ottoman minelayer moved silently through the dark water of Eren-Köy Bay. Her name was Nusret. Her captain was Lieutenant Commander Hake. He had been watching the Allied fleet for weeks. Every time the great ships withdrew, they turned to starboard, into Eren-Köy Bay, the same water, every single time, not by chance, by necessity. He laid 20 mines in a single line, parallel to the Asian shore, directly in the path the Allied ships always took when they turned away. March 18th, 1915. This was the decisive attempt. 18 battleships, the most powerful fleet ever assembled in these waters. They entered the strait at dawn. The plan was simple. Push through to the Narrows, silence the remaining guns, clear the path to Istanbul. They opened fire at 11 o'clock. The Ottoman guns answered. Shell after shell found the Allied hulls, inflexible. The Gaulois, the Suffren, taking hits, still fighting. By early afternoon, the Ottoman batteries had fallen silent. All telephone wires were cut, all communications interrupted. The artillery fire had slackened considerably. De Robeck saw his moment. The French squadron had taken the brunt of the fire at close range. He ordered them to withdraw, making way for the fresh British reserve. Their task complete, the French turned back. A routine maneuver, and Bouvet turned to starboard, into Eren-Köy Bay. 1354. Bouvet struck Nusret's mine. The ship capsized in less than 2 minutes. 639 men went to the bottom in 120 seconds. De Robeck didn't understand what had happened. He thought it was a torpedo, a floating mine. He pressed on. Inflexible turned to withdraw. Into Eren-Köy Bay. She struck a mine. Irresistible. She struck a mine. Drifting. Crew taken off. HMS Ocean sent to rescue her. Into Eren-Köy Bay. She struck a mine. Steering gone. Both ships abandoned. Both sank before nightfall. The same bay, the same invisible line, laid by one small ship, on one dark night. In a single afternoon, 3 battleships sunk, 3 more badly damaged, 700 sailors dead or wounded. De Robeck sounded the recall. The fleet withdrew, for the last time. What de Robeck did not know, the Ottoman guns were almost out of ammunition. Every shell that struck the Allied hulls that day had come from a stockpile that was nearly empty. Henry Morgenthau, the US ambassador in Istanbul, reported that the city expected to fall within hours if the attack resumed on March 19th. Roger Keyes wrote in 1934, "I thought he was beaten at 2 p.m. I knew he was beaten at 4 p.m. But the fleet did not return. Land forces were needed. 20 mines, 1 night, 1 small ship. That was all it took. to stop the greatest fleet assembled in the Eastern Mediterranean, to shatter the myth of the invincible Royal Navy, to seal the fate of 500,000 men. Because the ships couldn't force the strait, the infantry would have to. The naval assault was over. The slaughter of Gallipoli was about to begin.